Hello, peeps, and welcome to another installation of Stampin' 101. This time, it's all about punches. Now, I'm going to try to keep this video to, an hour or less. Actually, I hope it doesn't go that far. I've prepped as much as I could to try to show you. But here's the thing. Holy cow, is there stuff you can do with punches. When I decided I was going to do this video this week because it tied into my choice for my Mission Monday, pick a theme and do something. And I thought, I haven't had a good play with punches lately. I'm going to do some punches stuff and just see all the different things you can do. And then, holy cow, once I started doing stuff and thinking of all the different things you could do, there are so many. And I'm going to try to hit them all as we go. I made lists. I like to make my lists. And I'm going to try to go in a reasonable order that makes sense, but at the same time, there's multiples of things and things that work with other things, and so I'm just going to go in as close to logical sense as I can. I got to move my papers where I can see them better. I think I might have showed this the other day, but this is how it started. I was crossing things off as I was making them. But yeah, when I started doing it, this is what I started doing. And then I was just like, well, there's so many things you can do and so many things I should tell you and so many. So I'm going to give you some basics first, and then I'm going to start showing you projects and just bits and pieces of things you can do with punches, things to warn about. Hey, did you know? Here's what, things I've learned along the way. Okay, so first off, punches. There's some, and I don't actually, I know what some of them are called. Other ones I think are just called like your standard punch. But there's kind of the two, I think they were the most common, or have been for most of my 14 years, are just shape punches. Some of them are specific shapes to cut out a stamped image or to make a specific shape, hence a star. Other ones are labels. Now these could be, you could do all sorts of things with these. These don't have to be just for sentiments. They could be different things, but that seems to be the kind of two most common ones. One of the, I remember when I first started, there was a cake builder one, and it was a clunky old thing, not a cake, cupcake. It was a clunky old thing, and it was not as easy to use. They've gotten more clever in doing it, and now they have things like builder punches. And I'm going to show you one of the other more popular, maybe the most popular one. Holy cow, have I seen projects, and holy cow, have I made projects. But it's in the pile with that project. But a builder punch is simply a punch that has multiple pieces that you add together to build up your image or build up your project, right? So one with multiple things in one. And there's some tips and tricks and things to using a builder punch. There's always been mini punches. There's not as many as there used to be. This is the newest set that came out in March. I cannot remember what it's called. All of a sudden it just escaped me. I'm not really good with the names anyways. So it's got a 1/8 circle punch that just makes like a little hole. So for people who are used to using like this kind of punch, I guess I should have said there's this kind of punch too. This one makes the same size hole, but they don't sell those punches anymore. So this is just what it is. But it's a very tiny hole for like ribbon or twine. Then we have these two more slot punches. This one actually can look a bit like a tag punch. I could probably zoom in again. That would probably make things easier. So this one is just, excuse me, a slot. And this one has a bit more of like a tag kind of top to it. But basically either one of them is, you can do whatever you want with them, but they also make like slots to pass ribbon through or other pieces of cardstock through if that's what you're doing. So these are just handy little ones. A lot of times the little ones come in a set. This comes as a set of 3. And yeah, at some point maybe the name will pop into my head. It is a very basic name. I just can't think what it is. And then we have, I don't know, I want to say this is fairly new. It seems to be within the last few years. We have the pick-a-punch, where you can do multiple things with it. I don't have a current tag topper punch. The tag topper punch is very similar in that it has these slots in it, but usually the tag topper just makes like one tag topper. I'll see if I can, just a sec here, because I forgot about that. I meant to grab that one. I don't know if I have any of them. I don't think I do. I do have a fair number of retired punches. No, I don't. And I'll show you how this one works and what the slots are about in a minute. So basic punches, right? The punches all have locks on them. And it is easier. Like you can do it with one finger, but you got to get it, you have to get it moving at the same time, right? And so it's just, It's a lot easier with two, trust me, but you can do it with one. These things will pop out, and if they do, that you can just pop them back in again. Like I've dropped my punch before, and one of these things went flying out. Um, there's a right way and a wrong way to put it in, and it has to do with there's a little a little piece in here that's what actually catches into the punch. You want it on the right. If you put it in backwards, then the things you won't be able to close it to lock it because the thing's in the way. You got to get it the right way. Anyways, if it does ever pop out, all you have to do is look at one of your other punches to figure out which way is the right way, and then you just go, just pop it back in again. So, but I think the main point of the lock is just to make them flatter for storage, right? Keep some of the dirt and debris out of it and makes them flatter. I don't know if there's any other reason, but I do keep mine locked because that's how they fit on my shelf. One of the most important things I will tell you about a punch is when you get a new punch, you should open it up, take it out, take a piece of whatever kind of scratch paper you have. You could use cardstock if you want. Who doesn't have a chunk of placemat or whatever? And just do this. Just punch a couple times. Now, all my punches are well used. And yeah, it'll get stuck like that, but that's fine. Because you know how you get the paper unstuck? Just turn it sideways and punch it until it all falls out. Because this paper is, well, it's multiple layers because I folded this in pieces, but it's also thinner than cardstock. Cardstock gets stuck a whole lot less than like copy paper or something. Use old bills, use an old envelope, just anything. But when you get a new punch, you'll notice, and you notice it even on white, that if you punch, and then there'll be like a little bit of oil slick around the edge of the punch and on the edge of the image you just did. It's just oil from the manufacturing process, right? And I don't know if it's like what they put on to test it, to kind of lubricate it so it keeps going, anti-rust, whatever. Some of them I've forgotten about and I've gone to punch and I've noticed there's no oil, seems to be fine. Other ones, I forget and I go to punch and instantly I can see like how much oil and it's spreading and it's enough that the piece is not going to work. So you're better off just to do it on a piece of scratch paper, or if you have like cardstock that you screwed up on, you just save it in a pile. Use that cardstock to punch out new ones. And you just have to punch it a few times and it basically cleans off all the mechanisms where the oil is until you start seeing that what you punch doesn't have any oil on it anymore. Then you know that it's clean. And it'll just keep it from, ruining the project that you worked on. So you want to do that. It's so funny. I wrote on all these little things, like little tips and tricks. Here, I'll pick a different one this time. Bottoms up. It's so funny that the punch goes this way. Like here's the picture. And if you look at the front, it shows you what it is. And so I unlock it. And yeah, this is all great. I don't know a single person who punches like this. Bottom up. Because if you want to see what you're doing, this is by far the easiest way to do it. And even if I just wanted to punch out 50 stars out of a piece of yellow cardstock. I'm trying to grab a piece of cardstock. All the pieces on my desk, and there are many, many, many right now, or all have a specific purpose. So if I want to punch this piece of cardstock out, I mean, I could do it like this because I have a big piece of cardstock and I can see what it's doing. But if I want to punch more than one of them out, I certainly want to be able to look what I'm doing and see so that I can get multiples out. And even if I punched one here and then I guessed I was far enough over, maybe, maybe not. Like, I can't imagine not doing it where you're looking at the hole. The other thing I want to tell you, and it may or may not work because I'm trying to show it as a sample, because sometimes when something doesn't work, but when you try to show somebody it doesn't work, it works perfectly. So we'll see. Just a minute. Let's zoom in really close. So one of the other things I would caution about is you don't want to waste paper. Like, no way am I going to punch this star. Oops, that's a little zoomed in a little too much. Sorry. No way am I going to punch this star in the middle of this piece of cardstock, right? Unless I'm trying to get a hole in the middle. But at the same time, you don't want to be too close to the edge. So I'm going to go, I have to tip it so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go as close to the edge as I can without actually punching yet. Because that reminds me to tell you something else. Sometimes if you're lining things up, I haven't punched enough to make a mark in this paper, but I've put a little bit of pressure on this, so now my paper's not going to move. So if I'm trying to line something up, and I have my punch open, things are like sliding all over, and I'm trying to do it, and I think I have it, but then I move it when I, So if you're having trouble lining it up, when you get close enough, just kind of, and I've like squished a millimeter maybe, like just barely, like just till you feel a slight resistance. Now it's not going to move. So now if I needed to adjust it, I could let it off a little bit and do it without having to start completely from scratch. Okay, just a thought. Okay, so now I have it as close as I can to the edge. So I'm going to punch. And of course, this is a big one, so it worked better than it was supposed to. But a lot of times when you work on the edge, and I can show you it on that when I get to the hearts if I remember, it gets a little bit frayed. This one's a little bit. I don't know that I can make you see the frayed part, though. I'm afraid I can't show you. Oh, I know. You came here for crafting, but the jokes are thrown in for free. Oops, yeah, that's page down. Okay. So it's not super easy to see. It's a little bit fuzzy there and a little bit fuzzy there. I'm trying to put the white behind it. The smaller the punch or the older the punch, if it's not as sharp, it gets a lot more frayed on the edges. So you don't want to be you also don't want to be too close, and you can see it a little bit on here, but like you don't want to be punching so close. One of the things that just, it irks me. Do you see what's going to happen on this one? Because you think you're close and you're trying to save paper, but I've got a little nick there, and I've also got a little nick there because I just wasn't close enough. You're going to waste this much paper trying to save a bit of paper. So really, make sure you got a bit of distance. You don't need to be all the way in, but just in before you punch it. The other thing I would suggest is if I needed to punch 20 stars, right? So I'm going to get a big piece of paper because I need to punch 20 stars. All of a sudden I can't pick up my piece of paper. I didn't get this one. I knew I was supposed to be getting this ready, but I kind of forgot. So, just a minute. Let me put all my props off to the side here. You will see them all again at some point as I show you different things. Okay. Put these ones off to the side. Okay, so I need 20 of them, right? So I'm going to take my piece of paper, and I want to punch 20 stars out of it. Well, I'm going to suggest you do it one of two ways. You either go like this and put your little star on, which is here. Let's pretend I'm punching white stars so you can actually see what I'm doing. You put your little star on, and then you can take the one you've already punched out as well. Use one or both or whatever, and you can do this. So you can either, there we go, take a pencil and just kind of make little marks like this. I wouldn't make marks on this unless you were going to flip it over or cover it up or something. But if you knew we were doing this, I find that one works another way, right? So I want to do this, right? So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to put it just outside so I don't end up with pencil marks in it. And actually kind of space it out a bit, right? Let you know so that when you go to start punching, you're using the least amount of paper but making sure you have enough space. The other thing you're going to do, and I'll use these stars for something. Okay, so I know is as I'm going, I'm going to go like this, right? And in this case, sometimes you can do enough. Like I'm hoping I'm going to get a fifth one, and I'm trying to turn my punch just enough. Now I'm not going to get a fifth one out of this. Like I try all I want, but it's not going to work. I love these stars. I just love the shape of these stars, and to me these stars just scream that they should have a happy face on them, like a smiley star. But they also make me think of flowers. Like I think there's a beautiful, if you put like a nice center in this, it looks like a flower. Which is one of my points I was going to tell you. Don't just look at a punch and go, oh, that's a star punch. No, this could be, oh my goodness, this could be any number of things, this punch. So when you're doing this, here's one of the other limitations of a punch though, is the punch will only go this so far. So I can't punch a second row. Now, I could flip it around. I could go the easy way, flip it around and do a punch this way and hold it out to the edge. But am I hurting myself or helping myself by doing it that way? Like, do I want to offset the stars? And so sometimes if you're going to do multiples of something, you might want to do that. Now, I just punched this first row out, right? So why wouldn't I take the ones I just punched and use those as my little thing before I get started and say, wait a minute. I'm not going to fit one on the edge, but if I do it this way and I get one going this way, now I can offset my rows. Can I get another row? Yes, I can. So I can get 3 more rows by doing it this way. If I just randomly decide I'm going to do it this way without actually kind of laying it out a little bit, you're likely going to go through more paper. So I would say recognize the limitations of your punch. And this one is the same no matter which way you punch it. It's like an equal star. But when we get to some of the other punches, you'll see that You have to put a bit of thought into what direction the punch is going as well, not just how far from the edge, because there's a limit. Like you can't push it any farther than the resistance on this punch. So sometimes a little bit of planning will go a long way. Not actually sure if I did a project with that star. I don't think I did. The ink that we're using to to stamp with, is water-based, fairly quick drying, like our standard ink. I would suggest, just as like a general thing, if you're going to stamp an image and then punch it out, stamp it and give it a second. I have had it, it doesn't happen often, and there's enough clearance in the punch. I'm trying to figure out which card I'm doing first while I'm talking. We'll do with this one. There's enough clearance in the punch to generally get your project in. But boy does it suck when you stamp a whole big thing and then you smear it putting in the punch. So just if it's a fine like little line drawing thing, it's going to dry really quickly. You could probably punch it, and by the time you close your ink pad and take your piece of paper up to punch it, it will punch. And it won't smear. But if it's something like where you're doing a whole bunch of big solid images or something, I would just, flap it around a little bit or give it a second to dry before you stick it into punch. Okay. One of the things you can do, and I was determined I was going to get this out today. Excuse me. So I did not make a bunch of punch art. There's so many things you can do with punch art, but you can just Google the words punch art and you will see everything. I have a whole bunch of circle punches, and this is one of the old whale tail ones that I wanted to show you too. I guess because it looks a bit like a whale. I'm trying to get, there we go. Looks a bit like a whale and has this big tail is what you punch down on it. These are the old style. So you might still have those. Because I think I started to say this at the beginning and then distracted myself. Shocker. Some of the punches I'm using to show you this stuff are retired. Stampin' Up! Kind of retired a whole bunch of punches, and then they kind of brought some back, and then they kind of retired them, and there's dies, and I don't know, one of the common questions is what's better, punches or dies? Well, they both have their uses. They both have pros and cons. I don't know, but I can guarantee you that every crafter out there, even demonstrators who are trying to do it as a business and mostly, you only want to use stuff that people can buy kind of thing, because you don't want somebody to be, oh my God, that's the greatest thing ever. Oh, well, you can't get one, right? But I can almost guarantee you that everybody has retired punches in their craft room because they are so awesome that a lot of people just don't part with them. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. So I have a container that's got about 64, because it's about 8 by 8 punches in it that are all, pretty much all retired. I have a small little tray with another maybe 15 or 20 mini punches in it that are all retired. And then I have most of the current punches, which is maybe 10 or 12. And then I have another bin off to the side because I ran out of space that has another half dozen or more Christmas ones that I just kind of didn't have room to set out all the time. So I'm just going to show you some of the things I'm going to show you. I might use a retired punch for, but honestly, I'd be shocked if somebody told me they didn't have one. One of the other things I want to make note of, and this one you can see this has been there forever. Sometimes if you're doing something, and so this was, what was I making? I was making the feet of something, and I wanted to punch a half circle. Oops, I'm off the thing. I wanted to punch a half circle. So instead of guessing and hoping that I hit the center part every time the right way, I put little marks on mine with a Sharpie. So now when I punch this and I get a half circle, because just because it's a circle punch doesn't mean you have to punch a circle, right? So there's one little foot, right? But I want to make sure the next one is the same size. So when I line up the next one, sorry, I got to tip it so I can see. See, I tip it and then I squeeze it a little bit so it doesn't move. I'm lining it up on those same two lines, right? And it doesn't have to be in the halfway mark. If you want to make just a tiny little notch somewhere, like this, well then make a mark where you're going. One of the other ways you can do that, and I buried my stickies here. If you don't want to draw on your punches, it will eventually wear off, I will tell you that. But if you decide you don't want to draw on your punches, and you want, you have to always pay attention to the fact that the paper can only go in one way, right? The paper has to go in this end. The paper cannot feed from this way. There's a handle here. So I was about to do this because it was easier with the sticky to block off a piece. Well, that's not going to work to cut just this bottom piece, considering I have to feed the paper in the other way. So, but if I want to say I want to go about a third, I can also do this without having to draw on my punch. I've just made a line with my sticky note. So now when I put my paper in, this one might be harder to see, but we'll see if I can do it. I've lined my paper up with the edge of the sticky note. I punch. That one was like a quarter of a circle or something. Oops, it stuck to my sticky note. There we go. That could be like an eyelid on something. And this is the thing with, I'll show you here a sec. So I wanted, actually, if I hadn't pulled that thing back off again, because I stuck my thing to it. So if I want mine to be the same, so now I'm going to do that a second time, right? I'm going to go in, I'm going to line up. I'm going to get my other eyelid. Oh, see, I was rushing and I didn't quite get it. But you can do it that way. You can put a piece of tape on, a piece of masking paper, whatever. But yeah, easiest thing ever. If you're doing half circles or if you're trying to line things up, just put Sharpie marks on the inside of your punch. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a hole punch. It's a hole punch. Okay, move things out of the way. Yeah, there's so many. So mark it with a sticky, punch note. Oh, I'm gonna quickly grab my other ones. One of my favorite things to make, I make it on all sorts of various Christmas things, leprechaun things, various different things, is belt buckles. Belt buckles. So if I want to make a belt buckle, because I want to put a, you know, on a hat. My leprechaun hat is too far to reach, so I can't show you, but I think this is the right width. Yes, it is. Okay, so I want to make a belt buckle, right? So I need to make the bigger square with the little square inside. So I'll show you the two different ways and why one is way easier. Okay, so I'm going to cut out a square. These are both retired punches, but they go together beautifully to make a belt buckle. Here, I'll zoom in again, sorry. So there is my square. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to try to punch this square out of the middle so that I get like a frame. I want just the outline of the square. Now the only problem with doing this is going side to side is not as big of a problem because it's sticking out just enough that I can look at it and see, do I have an equal boundary on either side? Yes, so I'm in the center that way. The tricky part now, oops, is checking to see if I'm centered this way to this way. So I'm looking at where these pieces are, and I'm looking where the thing in the middle is, and I'm really going, oh, I hope so. And so I punched my thing out of the middle. Now, I actually did pretty good this time. I'm slightly off, but not too badly, right? So I can make a buckle. Now, if this square was smaller, where I couldn't see it through the punch, I have nothing to go on. So what I have found, just to be on the safe side, even if I can see the whole square, is I know roughly how big the outside piece I want to do is. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to punch the smaller piece first. Right? There. I punched out the little square first. So now, when I go in with my big square, I can see exactly where that square is. And I just have to, again, sorry, have to tip it so I can see. So now when I line it up, I can see that I have the square in the center because I can see the whole thing. Now when I punch, every time I punch and the thing goes flying, it makes me laugh because punching is not the neatest thing. The pieces go everywhere. I once got undressed at night, and I was getting undressed in my closet, and I just out of the corner of my eye saw something fall, and I looked down, and it was the pieces I was punching, but they had punched up, gone down the front of my shirt, and landed in my bra. And when I took my bra off at night, the little piece fell on the floor. So little punch pieces, they will go everywhere. Sometimes it's a game to see if you can punch and catch them, and you know. So now I have a buckle, which I can put just behind a little strap. I put a little piece of black behind, and there, I have a belt. This is a very typical Santa belt, but you can also, if I had this green and gold, then it would be a leprechaun belt, or it could make it red or pink or whatever. But anyways, my point of that was just, it's easier to punch the small piece first, and it works the same with if you're doing a circle. Like if you wanted to make donut ones and you had a big circle and a little circle so you could make a donut, punch the little circle first, then the big one. It's just easier. Okay. There are many things you could do with punches, believe me. But one of the common ones to do, just a minute, I lost my piece of paper that I'm looking for. sure what that one's there for. There, don't know what I did with the actual mask. Oh, there they are. I used them for a different project, that's why. Is to punch a hole and use it as a mask. So this is kind of the effect we're getting, right? I want to put, this is one of my new cards with a new set, Sunrise Sailing, I want to say it's called. Love it. But I needed a sun to go behind. The stamp set does not have a circle. I don't want a die cut because I want it to be like, to match the water and be stamped unstamped. So I need something that works as a stencil. So in this case, you can do one of two things. You can punch out of a piece of cardstock, and you can use your blending brush, or which it will work. And I'm gonna show you that on a piece of cardstock here. That's what this spare piece of cardstock was here for. Just so you can kind of see the difference in doing it. What I would suggest, and I keep these, like I just have a case here. The other ones that were, like I sometimes I will put them, if there's a specific punch or stamp or something that goes with a stamp set, I will stick the templates, the masks, right in the one that it goes with, because this is just kind of a generic circle. But this is masking paper, and it's still sticky, so you don't want it to stick to things you don't want. But at the same time, eventually the sticky wears off. So for now, I just keep it in here until I've used it enough and it gets tattered enough to throw it out and then start another piece. But I would suggest masking paper because it doesn't move. But more importantly, because it's thinner. So if you don't have masking paper, like copy paper works, you just have to be careful, because if you're using a heavy, like a lot of ink, it will go through your copy paper, and then the part you don't want to see, it will like bleed right through. So you don't really want to do that. But the thinner the paper, the finer the lines will be, like the edge will be. But it does work with this. And I'm just gonna, this is Darling Duckling. I don't know why I'm using this one, because I haven't been able to order the re-inker yet, so I'm not going to be able to re-ink it if I use all the ink off it. So we have our little brush, right? So we make it a mask, and this is all I did. And I would normally tape this down, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to hold on to it. Always start, this is, here before I start, always start off the paper. This is what, well, here's a sneak peek at the other card. If you don't start off the paper, like if you put your brush down like right in the area you want, you're going to end up more often than not with a really dark spot that you don't want. And when you've got just about the entire card done and you do that, really irks. So you want to start off on the thing. You want to make sure that whatever piece of cardstock you're using is big enough. Like right now, because this is here, I'll use this other piece. Because this is just a sample I'm going to show you, and I actually don't have a specific purpose for it yet. I'm not worried about it. But the reason I have this stripe is because on the other one I did this. Because I knew that as I get going with my brush, and crazy as I go, I'm going to go off, and I'm going to have it outside the mask that I want. I only want ink in here. Now, chances are I'm not going to go this far, but my piece of masking paper completely covered the base piece I was using, just to keep it out of my way. So punch a circle, and I mean, you can only punch so far in on the punch, but put it in as far as you can on your piece. This was not actually made as a mask. I made this one to do something else, but like for inking. But so you start on this. You also want it big enough that you have somewhere to put, like to start on. So you can see the bigger globby parts are hitting here, and then you're not wasting a lot of ink. It's just a little bit. But believe me, you don't want a big gob in the middle of what you're doing, right? So the thing with this is the edges, it's higher up, right? Like it's thicker paper. So it's not going to work, like you're not going to get as fine an edge. But depending what it is you're doing, that may be perfect. That may be the exact look you're going for. Oops, just a minute. Now be careful with the masking paper. This has nothing to do with punches, but I'll tell you because I'm thinking of it. The masking paper is super sticky. So when you first take it off, like put it on your hand like this and pull it off. Oops, I ripped it in half. Or, because see, and I've used this in a bunch, and I've already de-stickified this stuff. You can put it on your clothes. You just got to be careful what clothes, because you might pull up like big chunks, then it's in the way. Or in my case, I kind of use the inside of the stamping case. So I pull it off before I've even stamped. I pull it off. That's why it's all curling up now. It's because I've used it a bunch. And I stick it to this, and I pull it up, and I stick it to this, and I pull it up. So it's not super, super sticky because I don't want to rip my cardstock. Right? And then I do this. Now the problem with the thicker stuff is in order to get right to the edge, because it is a bit thicker, you sometimes end up, if I had kept going more and more, you'd have seen it, but you kind of sometimes end up with a bit more of a ridge on it. Now that's a good look. If that's what you want, that's a good look. Like, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're not trying to get that, if you want it more even, like you don't want the darker, not ridge, edge, then you want like this, then yes, I recommend thinner. Now, this was the full circle. That was my son. Where'd my other card go? I have too many. I have envelopes for everything. This is me making my samples because I don't want to have to go back. I even stamped the insides. So I will take pictures, I meant to say that earlier, of all of these cards and all the bits and pieces just so you know. I'll put those off to the side because I don't think I need them. So your template does not have to be the full thing. So when I was talking earlier about only punching half a circle, you could just punch half a circle. This card was meant to be nighttime with like the white moon, but as soon as I did it on the white thing, then I'm like, well, how am I going to make this? And so in the end, I was like, you know what? It's just a cool effect. Like it just is. And in hindsight, if I was just going for the cool effect, I could have just made this maybe a lighter blue, but I kind of like the way it turned out anyways. But yeah, so this one, I actually used the same circle mask. I just put the line across the bottom, but you could also just half punch a circle out and then just put like a different mask across the bottom just to make it work, right? So this is if you want to make like for inking. The reason I had this circle though, I'll put my masks off to the side there. I think I am kind of done with those. Oops, that's the stamps that I was using. Oh, I'll show it on the other card. Okay, when we get to the other card, others I'll move everything out. The other thing I was going to tell you on this one though is, so this is the retirement one. This is another thing about stamps or punches. So this is the sentiment I wanted. It's so nice to have a nice retirement set. I love this font, especially the written one, but I just love the font on here. So I want to use a punch, and I want to punch out this happy retirement. Now, how often has this happened? Where this is the punch I want, and it is so close to being the right size, but not the right size. So you know how you make your punch longer? You got to make sure, and so this takes a measurement. So this was, I think this is just under 3/4. Is it 3/8? No, it's 5/8. It's just under 3/4. I went the wrong way. So this is a 5/8 strip. So halfway between half and 3/4 is the strip I wanted. So what you need to make sure, like if this is too wide, it's not going to, I'm zoomed in. I'm having trouble orienting myself on the zoom. You want to make sure that it's just thin enough that it fits in, right? So all I'm going to do is I've cut my little 3/8 inch strip and I cut it down. It was 3/4, which I would normally just stamp and then put it in and punch it out. But in this case, I cut it down to 3/8 so I could fit it in this way, right? And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to feed my punch or my paper into my punch, and I'm going to give myself a little bit of room on the edge, right? I'm just going to hold it up to make it sure it's good. And then I'm going to punch out this edge, right? Now I'm going to do the same thing. Now, and these ones, the direction is different. So you want to go the other side. If sometimes the punch, it doesn't matter which way you go, but in this case it does. Then I'm going to feed it in this way. Now, if you're having trouble trying to feed it in, because there is just like a space between the two pieces here, sometimes I find it's a little harder to feed in this way. You see it comes out. You can feed it in this way. Just make sure you don't punch down on it while you're doing it because you don't want to ruin it. So you could feed it in this way, which is far easier to go from the side. And then just as you get through, just kind of pull it up. And you just want to make sure that you're outside so you're not punching off anything you don't want. And because this is just a little bit loose, I'm trying to make sure I got the same amount. Right, so this is going over, because this, like I said, this was too short. Well, now I got a little bit, like I don't want to, I mean, I could have just cut off a bit of the T, but then it like runs right to the edge, and I personally don't like that look. I'd rather have just a little bit on either side. So I've done it this way. So the other thing you want to do is make sure you have it straight in here, because it has a little bit of wiggle room. So you just kind of want to make sure it's straight. But now I can do this. So now I've made this a little bit longer, right? And I could make it really long. I could also, if I just wanted the word happy, I could punch it here. Like if I just had the word, like a shorter sentiment, I could just do the same thing and punch it a lot shorter instead of going the full length. So you can use your punches in a lot of different ways. You can use them for all sorts of different things, but you don't have to use the full punch as intended. Just make sure it's a little bit smaller. One side, then the next. I've now just made this long enough for what I wanted. So there's another little technique for you. I did use my star punch. Using that same theory, so here's my star punch. So people love banners. And in the new catalog, there's a set of alphabet banners, or alphabets and banners coming out. And instead of having really sharp, like pointy banner bottoms, they have more like a rounded one, like this. But they're 3 inches. So when that set comes out, and you want to like layer banners, and you have one big 3-inch one, but you need narrower ones. This strip is, I think, 1.5 inches. It was just a random piece I had, but just shy of 1.5 inches. But look what happens when I take my star punch and I do the same thing I did on the other one. I just take it and stick it in the side. There we go. And I'm just going to go like this, and I'm going to line it up and make sure that it's as even, like squared away as I can. Well, lo and behold, if I didn't do skit, can I do it that way? A rounded banner. Right? So the same thing, as long as you make sure your paper can fit in like from the top side, because if you put a whole piece in like this, you're going to cut other things. It's not going to work. But if you can just feed it in, then you can dictate just how much of that punch you use. So, banner punch. One of the other things, and this is this one's got a whole bunch of stuff coming in this one. One of the other things you can do, I need to get my punch, there we go. There's another builder punch. This builder punch is retiring. And I've used these flowers so much it's ridiculous. And this leaf, it's crazy. Get it before it's gone. The hexagon punch is staying, but I think the stamp set is going. Sometimes they do that. I don't know why. So this is the set that comes with it. Where did I put it? There we go. This was my sample piece. One of the things I was going to show you, and I didn't actually make a card with it, is you can take any punch. You can use the little ones, and you can punch a little border. This was just my practice piece that I was punching things with. You can just punch along a piece of cardstock. Like if this was your layer, punch along it and play along and try and get some border pieces. Get little scallopy looking things. This is the tag punch. One of the little mini 3. You could do it with the heart punch if you had a small heart punch. There's so many things you can do. I'm just going to use this hole that I cut in it though. So one of the other reasons that a stencil comes in handy, other than just to actually like use stuff like that, is in this particular stamp set, it has this stamp. Now, here, I'll take it out of the case because I might be able to see it better. When you first pick this stamp up, because it is just an outline, and you pull it up like this, it is very flimsy, right? It's not solid. It's a hollow stamp. It's also very clear. There we go. I'm noticing now that my thing is very white, so you know what might actually help me a lot is if I put this down as my background. Might be able to see things better on there. Sorry. Okay, so this is a very flimsy, right? So I don't want to just take this and throw it on here, because this is what I'll do. I'll put it on just the way it came off, right? I'm just going to stick it on there. I'll use this piece because I can. Doesn't really matter what I'm stamping with. And I'm just going to stamp this. And this is luck of the draw. Like, who knows? This may work and this may not work. You'll get the idea. Whether it works or not, you'll be able to tell if it's just luck or what. So I'm just going to stamp. Right? Then I'm going to go to punch it out. Now, because it was kind of flimsy, okay, so here's one of the limitations of the punch, right? I needed to stamp closer to the edge, but I couldn't because that was there. So one thing you will find, and I knew I would hit it at some point, and so I had this whole list of things, and I thought some of them are just going to organically come up as oops, I need that for something else, as I go. But if I'm punching a whole bunch of things, I always have my snips with me, and I am forever trimming the paper to make it work, because I will get the most out of a piece of paper that I can. So here's what we want to do. So, well, it's not too bad, but you'll see what my problem is here in a second. I just got to be able to show you. So this is the problem with doing it this way, and I don't know because it's a very fine line. But what I can show you is that along this side, and this side, I have a nice even spacing, right? This one starts out okay, but by the time I get down to this corner, the dots are right up against the punch now. So when I punch it, you can see that my nice even border that I had is totally shot down in this corner. And that's because when I put the stamp on the block, I just pulled it off. I'm trying to get, not getting it on my fingers. I just pulled it off and slammed it down. And so it's as twisted or as pulled or whatever as I made it. They kind of have, I guess I want to say the photopolymer has muscle memory. So it sort of goes back to shape. It was just off by like a little bit, but it's off enough to annoy me. So one of the other things you can do though, if you're like frequently using this, and in this case I would take this piece of cardstock and I would throw it in my stamp case. So I don't have to do this more than once. I just have to do it once. But I've punched a hole in here, like the shape of the thing, and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to line this up, and I can see through my stamp. You probably can't see on the camera, but trust me, I can see through here, especially because I have this darker background now, to make sure that what I'm getting is evenly lined up around my dots. And then I'm going to use my block to pick it up. So this way I know, and this works for dies as well, you can just put the die down. And so now I know this is the shape of my punch. So when I stamp and I go to punch, I'm going to have it as even as I want. Now you might want to give it a test and say, yep, perfect, right, if you're doing multiples. But it's much easier to use this as a template to get the flimsy stamps. Now if this is what I'm stamping, I don't need to make a template, right? I just pop this piece on here because it's fairly solid, right? I pop it on here. I stamp it down, and I'm going to put it in the middle. Now, there's lots of times the question gets asked, do you stamp and then punch or punch and then stamp? Whatever works for you. Some punches and some stamps, it's easier to do it one way or the other. I do not think there's one definitive answer for it because there's just too many options, right? But it's a good way to figure out. So I'm going to move some things off as I go because I think I'm done with those ones. I have so many ink pads too. I have everything out that I used just in case I need it for something. So like I said, I'm going to keep this because then I don't have to do that the next time. And if you take your stamp case and you bend it just enough that you can get like a little bit of flex here, I just tuck these things in here. I'll show you on the B one when I open the B one. I just tuck them in there. So now I have a template for the next time I go to do something. I have it. Oh, I know. I was going to say, why did I cut that? But I realize now I have an extra one. Okay, sorry. I just confused myself there for a minute. Oh, I do need something stamped in white. Just a minute. I do need to do this. So this is why you don't throw paper out, because you never know when you might need it. Because I need to be able to show you. What did I do with my Mr. and Mrs. stamp? There it is. I just need something white so you'll be able to see my example of the next thing. Okay, so, and stamps don't, like a lot of the stamps, or a lot of the punches, I mean, they work this way. Oops, I'll do it this way, or they work this way. It all depends. This stamp set, it happens to be set up that you can do it one way or the other. Okay, so I got my Mr. and Mrs. punched out. Now, one of the things you can do, and I didn't do it on this card. This card shows you the little, I have samples of different things. So this one was to show you the little flagged end that I did. And then this was just the builder punch where I've like layered up the flowers on it. This was the one I did using this punch with the little circles on it. I just forgot to show you with the little circles, the little dots. And then again, like I said, I have used so many of these punched out so many of these flowers, it's not even funny. And this is one of the new embossing folders. Oh my god, is it ever gorgeous. Okay. So let's pretend I'm making a card. Because I didn't actually make a sample of this one. I'm just trying to get the right color that you'll be able to see. I'll just get a base that you'll be able to see what I'm trying to show you. Okay, so this is my card. That's my card front, right? Sideways. And I want to put this Mr. and Mrs. label on it. Actually, you know what? It makes more sense on white. We'll do white. This is my card front. And I want to put this Mr. and Mrs. label on it. And I'm going to add whatever to it. I didn't put a border on this one, which I probably should have. But But I need a little bit of separation, obviously, right? White on white. Although I do like it in certain circumstances, do not get me wrong. I have made many a white on white card. But I need a little bit of separation. So one of the things you can do is punch out another piece. And you don't even need to use your trimmer, you can, but if you cut it in half this way, right? And then you can put it right behind this. I'll try to do this without. So now, nothing's glued down. So now I've made myself like little brackets. I've kind of made myself a layer. Because as much as, oh, I don't think I actually showed you. Here's a sneak peek of one of our other cards. I've used 2 punches here. This is very common, right? Punch a small one, punch a bigger one, and away we go. I have like a border on my punch. But that's great. I have like, I don't know, 10 circle punches. I got lots of different layers. This one I have 1. But this is how I can get a layer behind it. Now in this case, and this is kind of a cool effect. I kind of like it. I just have a layer on the sides. But, oh, see, that's what that piece of paper was for. That's why I had left it up. Just a minute. I just need to get it out of there. I have lots of card fronts, so we'll just use another one. So now I need one more. Only this time, I'm going to cut it this way. Now, in the interest of being able to see what I'm doing here, let me just go back here. This one is, there's too many moving pieces for me to pretend like I can make it sit without. So in this case, I'm going to do this. Oh, that's not exactly the same color. I picked the wrong one. That's okay. Close enough. Right? So I want to do this. I'm basically going to take these 4 pieces. That's way bigger than I want it to be, but just so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to make a border like this. Now, in order to make this work, we just need to do a little bit of trimming. So the piece that I cut in half, I'm going to miter the corner so it doesn't get too bulky in there. So this is right where kind of the end of the round ends, and I'm just cutting off the piece in the middle so that when I put it on here, you can see there's like a little bit of extra room there. Because this one, when I do it with this one, I'm going to trim off some of this as well. And this one I'm going to do a lot more because I just don't want it like super bulky in the back. And I am just overlaying these. And I'm just doing this because then I have a better idea of lining it up if I cut the same amounts off. It might help me a little bit. So now, just use my tear and tape, or my seal I should say. I'm just going to put seal on the edge of this. And this works better with some punches than others. Like some it's perfect and seamless. Other ones it's a little off, but you get the idea. So some of it is a little bit of trial and error. I admit that, but it does kind of work. So this time I'm going to glue this one on. Okay, so I can show you a little better now. So you can see the spacing on this one, right? So you get just kind of the cool side part. And then, because I'm going over it a little bit more, I'm just going to put a little bit on these pieces so it stays down a bit. And then I'm going to take the other one that I did, which, yes, is not the exact same color, so it's not going to work exactly anyways. See, in this one, it's not, the spacing is not perfectly even, so I should have tested that beforehand. But the idea is to do it. I could have trimmed off more of this. That's what I needed to do. I have to get my my adhesive stickers. I'm going to trim off a bit more of this corner. I should have tested this before I started putting adhesive on it, but I so appreciate when you guys hang out and do things with me. And I mean, I could sit here all day and make things and look at things and share ideas and chat with you about stamping. But maybe you didn't come here to spend 4 hours of your day. Maybe you just wanted to come get a quick bit of information. So I'm trying to be cognizant of that and keep it short and helpful. So, yeah, I cut off a bit more than I wanted to that time, but you get the idea. Ooh, it's just, you got to just test it a bit. And then this one goes on the bottom. And if I had cut them properly, then I would have got my border, right? So you can, I like the idea of, and it doesn't have to be just a border. I've got stuff glued to that one now. Sometimes it's fun. Like, this is cool. Sometimes it's fun to just do, here, I'll do this one because I think I might need that pink one for something else. Sometimes it just makes a cool background, right? Like, you can layer these up. There you go. I got a cool background. Or if you did cut it in half, you could cut it in half, but you could also have it like way wider. It doesn't have to be just a skinny little border to make it work. Oops, sorry. Right? So lots of different things to do with punches. But yeah, sometimes if you're trying to layer one and you've only got one of the shape, splitting them up is a good way to do it. Now, where did the other thing go? So I had this one. This I was going to show you. Oops, where did I put it? This one would also work. This punch. So where did I put the other flag? I put this one. So I used the star to flag end. You can flag things with scissors, but there's so many. We've had so many different punches. So this one, you can see how the flag goes. Is kind of a bit rounded. If you wanted more of a point to it, I guess, I could put this one in. And this one I have to find a way to feed it in. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. Let's do it this way. Because I'm hitting the edge where there's not enough room to feed the darn thing in. See, in that one I'm having, this one, like, I'm usually pretty good. I could get these to go in, but this one oh, there we are. I was hitting something, so I could go the other way and just slide it up. But so this one, if I want to get like a bit of a point on it, I get a bit of a round one. I'm just making sure it's somewhat lined up. So there's another use for the same punch. It just gives me a bit more of a rounded bit. This was just a scrap from when I was making the cards. The other one I can use, and this one's been, there is actually a flag, like some retired flag ones, but if you want to get like a really definitive one, if you have any of the old square punches, and you just line it up where you can see both corners, then you can get yourself a really good flag. That's not really showing very well, is it? There you go. So yeah, but I noticed with the hexagon, you can get kind of a, like I said, this is kind of a nice, instead of just cutting it off at the bottom or making it a flag or whatever, it just gives you kind of this like little rounded banner look. It's very cool. Okay, we got banners galore. One of the things that you want to watch when you're using a builder punch is how much paper you end up using that you don't want to. That's one of the drawbacks to a builder punch, but builder punches have so many positives that it's just a minor one. If I want to cut, and I'll just use pink for example, if I want to cut a bunch of these leaves, and I take a big piece of paper and I stick it in like this so that I can cut this leaf out, I'm cutting all of this. And every time I punch, I'm punching a whole bunch of other stuff out. So I'm going to waste a whole lot of paper because I don't want all of these. I just want the leaf. So in a lot of times, like if I just wanted this flower, it's easy enough to do this, right? I'm going to have to change hands. My right hand is stronger. I punch with my right. Right, I can do this, okay? There's one flower. And then I'm going to go punch another one out. And yeah, this paper's sticking out, but I've already punched this. This paper's already scrap anyways, right? You just end up with a lot of bits and pieces. I can punch this one. Yep, same thing, right? Yeah, I'm getting this paper, but I've already used this paper, so it really doesn't matter, right? So there's like the edge pieces you can usually do, but the part that's way down here, there's no way to cut just it and not waste all of that other stuff. Like if you stick in a huge piece of paper. So the idea is strips. Now you don't want your strip to be too small because, like I said, if you punch too close to the edge, sometimes you'll get like really frayed pieces. But if you make this strip, I don't even know what this strip is, an inch? Yep. If I do this, because I can see as I'm going now where the edge is, I can do this with my thing. And I'm getting very little waste, right? Every time I do it, I'm punching off. I'm going to have bits and pieces everywhere. And I have it at slightly at an angle instead, because I can't actually go just straight. Like I can't get it in straight. This piece is a little bit wider, but it happened to be a piece I already had. So I can just kind of, you know, maneuver a little bit and go up, and I'm just making sure. But I've cut all of those things, and I really haven't wasted any extra. I've cut little bits and pieces off of here, but I haven't really wasted any of what I wanted. Then you just have to make sure when you're picking up the stuff on your desk, you don't throw any of the ones you punched out. You just scoop out, you separate them out, and you scoop out the wheat from the chaff, as it were. Okay, so I got a whole bunch of those. This is why you see these flowers on so many things, because I keep punching them like crazy. Okay, we'll put those down there. So yeah, that's one of the things, is sometimes the best way to use the builder punch is going to be with a strip. I have one little piece of green that I'm trying to get up. Okay, there's that one. One of the other ways that you can use the stencil, there's this, it's a noisy little thing. And this is not, it's not going to be the easiest to show you because you can see it in person and you can see it in the photo, because I took a photo to make sure, but it's a little hard to see on the camera because I tried. But I'm trying to see. My camera's doing something weird right now, and the part that I'm looking at, like my OBS screen, the actual screen is this big. Like it's a tiny little thing, and then I have this huge bit that gives me all the options. So it somehow has reversed the way it appears on here. So I have a very tiny thing that I'm looking at. So when I'm trying to see if I'm showing you something, I can barely see my own screen. And I got my IT department, the 17-year-old in the basement, to come up and try to help me, and he can't figure it out either. But what I have here is I have an embossed circle going around this house. And you'll be, like I said, you'll be able to see it when I show you the photo, but it's just not showing up right now. So that was the reason I punched this one out to begin with, out of that piece of cardstock. Is one of the other ways, like the stencil, to use it with ink. Yes, that's a great idea. But you can also use this, and you can do it one of two ways. You can do it on your silicone mat, and you get a much, I guess, a finer kind of embossing, or probably the way you want to do it to get like the effect you want is you can use your Stampin' Pierce mat and put your circle in, and then using your scoring tip, there we go, off of, ink on my hand, off of you take your pick tool, you can score it. Now, because I might use this mask for other things, I want to be able to, like, I put it in just a big piece of paper so I've got like extra protection around. So now my layer behind it is smaller. So you can do this, you can try this and go, okay, so now it's all centered. For me, as soon as I flip it, I'm like, did I just move that? And I did. So one of the things I've noticed, and you can't quite see what I'm doing, but if I'm holding this up like to the window, my window is, the blind is actually, I just realized I didn't turn my overhead lights on. The blind is actually down and it's fairly dark out at this point. But even just holding it up to like the lights in the room, I'm trying to get it so you can see through, but I don't know that I can. I can see, so if I just hold it up, I have to do it this way, but I'm holding it up, I can actually see where that spot is. So I can make sure that I have this centered where I want. And then I'm just going to go like this. I'm using, oh, I moved it. I see, normally I wouldn't move it once I put it down. I was moving it so you guys could see what I was doing. And it could be at the bottom. It doesn't have to be at the top. But because it's a darker piece behind the white, I can see exactly where the hole is by holding it up to the light. And then I'm going to put it down. I'm going to put a grip on it, as my dad would say. Now, by using this tool, and this is where you want cardstock. The masking paper would be too small. But I'm going to use this, and I'm just holding my scoring tool, and I'm kind of pushing against, I'm not pushing really hard, but I'm pushing against the circle, like the edge of this, so that I can hold my thing in place. I don't want to go inside the line. I just want to go on the outside. You could do it once or twice. I'm doing it a couple times just to show you. And now I have this embossed circle, which again, I cannot get, I don't think you can see, but I don't know. You'll see it on the card. But so I have this embossed circle, so I can have the embossed part, or I can have the debossed part. The debossed part is not as obvious as the embossed part. I will show you though. And so that's what I did. And it was just, because this was background, I didn't want to emboss the whole thing. Oops. Because I wanted to stamp on it. So, but I just wanted a little something something. I did want to put a circle of cardstock. So I can see like this, just this little, it's a little outline. Yes, you could just put a white circle behind it because that would give you almost the same effect, but I was like, I'm playing. So I did it that way. The one thing I know you can do though, and I will show you quickly. One of the other things is, so this is embossed, right? So I have this like this, pushing the paper up, right? So the paper is pushing out this way. So if I wanted this to be up and I had stamped on it, I got to make sure that I stamp on the right side for what I'm getting. So I'm going to do, oops, I got to do it this way. I got to make sure if you're doing it more than once, make sure that you get your circle on the right side. So unless I guess you could mix and match. Some go up, some go down. That's actually a good idea now that I think of it. But I'm going to do this just because I have a purpose. This doesn't actually matter. Some of them are overlapping. It makes no difference if they do or not. The point is something else. Just to get a whole bunch of lines on there. I think I need one that's like this. So this is sort of a make your own embossing, right? So I've done that. So now I have a cool bunch of embossed things, which you can't see. Well, that's not fair. Let's make it so you can see, shall we? And I got stamps everywhere. So I'm going to use, and again, I shouldn't be using this because I don't have a re-inker for this one either, but I just, oh my goodness, I love this color. Where'd my piece of paper go? There it is. So again, I'm going to start off the paper because I don't want the big gobs on my paper. Although I'm going to get them anyways because, you know, I could use some, the blending brushes are all a matter of practice and getting the right touch down. And then remembering, because it doesn't matter how many times I do it, I'll be doing good and then the next time I'll go and I'll stick it right in the middle of the paper and go, darn it, that's not what I wanted. But one of the things you can see, I did it again. I didn't tap here, I tapped on the paper because I was rushing. But what I'm trying to show you, and I just got to get enough of it in there that you'll, did I do the right side? Yes, okay. Just trying to find all the lines that I put, which I can sort of only partially see. I got kind of a marble effect. Like I don't mind having darker lines, I just don't want spots. But the darker lines give you like the marble effect, which is kind of what you want anyways. But whatever you've hand traced, but now you can see where those ridges are, because if you put a blending brush over top of them, you start to see them. So now I have circles and marble. And it just gives you like texture and character in the background. Just because it's fun to play, let's be honest. It's just fun to play sometimes. Put that off to the side. So that's what I did to get the circle. And like I said, when I show you the picture, when I post the picture, you will see that you can see it a bit more on the card. But the other thing you can do, and the same idea, I punched this one out, which is just one of the labels. And I did the same thing, but instead of pushing up against the side of it, I stayed just in, I had this on my paper down, right? And I stayed just inside of it, and I scored. And again, I don't know how obvious it's going to be. In person, you can really see it, but I have a little depressed thing, because in this case, I don't want the raised part, I want the indented part, I want the debossed. But you can see I have like a little border all the way around my label, and it just cleans it up, gives it a bit of an edge. You notice a lot of the dies now have stitched edges or embossed edges or stuff. It just makes it a little fancier than a plain edge. You could, back in the day, the main thing was, you know, you could brush it with ink to give the edge a little bit of character, but there's other like non-ink ways to do it. You could also like punch this out and trace houses, like do rows of houses in the back. I will tell you though, when you're doing this, and one of the other uses that I was going to show you, excuse me, is confetti, right? So you can use your punch to make confetti. So all these little hearts came from the house. There we go. I'm like, what did I do with the punch? The house builder, right? This little heart in the corner. I just punched, I don't know, 40 of them out. And made a shaker card with little hearts. And if you are using just a whole bunch of punched out pieces, you want to try to put some kind of sequins, or in this case, these are some little retired beads that I can't remember the name of. But you want to put something, because otherwise the cardstock doesn't, it can like kind of get stuck in there. But if you put it like this, then you get little pieces that will move. It'll go down eventually. I got a couple pieces stuck. I need to move them out of my way though. So here's the other thing. I used this bunch and I punched out this house because I wanted to put a background. But and there's a little heart that's stuck here, but in a shaker card, you want the background to be as flat as possible so the sequins don't get stuck on things, right? So I wanted a house. Well, this stamp set, the only house image it has in it has the gingerbread and all the curly cues and stuff on it, like this. But I didn't want that house in this card because I was making, you can't see it because I put so much stuff in the middle, but I have little roses and grass and a tree, and right, so I just wanted the house to be plain, and I wanted to put the windows and doors in. So I did this. I'm like, perfect. And I punched out my image and I put it down and I sponged it and I got my nice little colored house that I wanted. And then my plan was to take the stamp. There's a stamp here. Actually, if I remembered what I did, there we go. I wanted to use this stamp to make a roof line on it. But do you notice my error? I punched it this, or I sponged it this way, and here's the stamp. Chimney, chimney. So if I had flipped the piece of card over and actually done my blending brush this way, then I could have used this stamp on top. But as it stands, if I stamped this on here, my chimney would be on the opposite side of my chimney. So if you are going to make a thing, just if you're adding to it or something, just something to pay attention for, because I couldn't do the roof I wanted to. In the end, I just used my marker and hand drew like a little bit of a line. But that was just because I didn't pay attention to which way I punched it out. This punch wouldn't have mattered, right? The punch is the same either way you look at it. Some punches it matters. And in the case of this one, the other thing I will tell you is if I'm going to go sponge this, I don't want these holes here because guaranteed I'm sponging into that hole and making a mess. So this one, when I was sponging, I used my other pieces for things. I did this. And that's it. You kind of, with a builder punch, you want to make sure that you're making, if all I only want the ink to go in this square. So anywhere that I might get carried away, because you go like this with your brush, right, in circles. So I want to make sure that I covered all the other holes so that when I'm doing this, I'm only getting the part I want. Okay. And these are reusable. Just make sure that when you're doing things, if you are sponging on them, if you've punched an image out, like if I decided, oh, I did that wrong and I want to do it again, so I want to flip it over and do it, make sure the ink on this side is dry so that when you go like this, you don't just smudge ink all over what you're trying to avoid. There's that. But look at that. Shaker cards. This is actually the envelope for this. Shaker cards are so much fun. Okay. I got that one going. I got that one going. Okay. What did I do with that punch I just had? Oh, there it is. So this was my original thought. I was doing the welcome home part, and I just wanted a little banner. So I don't want to punch. Like, this punch is way bigger than what I wanted, right? And if I had tried to put welcome home on a bigger piece, because I could have used a bigger piece of cardstock. I'm just using this to cover what I want, right? I could have done it, but you see that then the word welcome home is kind of small in that big of a punch. So I'm just using the middle part. And so punches that have lots of lines can give you lots of different images. In this case, I'm just going to, I already punched the other side. I want this to be smaller, but I want to have like some kind of punching. So I'm just lining it up before I show you. So I'm just using just the sides. I'm not using the top part of the punch, I'm just using the sides. And all I want to make sure is that my thing is evenly spaced, so I'm not clipping my label with the top or the bottom. So now, this punch gave me this label. Right? I thought you'd be able to see that better, but I don't really think you can. There we go, do it that way. Right? So just use the part of the punch that you want. This is another one. That one is retired, unfortunately. There's a big fancier one. I just don't have it. I have so many. I'm gonna have to make a ton of welcome cards because I have all these welcome home pieces. That's too. Well, let's go with this one. Do I have anything punched on these? Nope. I was trying to show the opposite example of like that one I wanted to make smaller. This one I wanted to make bigger, so that was the same technique I did before, right? I just put it in one side, put it in the other. I have this huge long piece. But what if what I wanted to stamp? I have so many stamps everywhere. Here we go. Just gotta give you something that sits. I realize it's much easier if there's ink on the paper than just showing you a blank piece of paper. So in this case, instead of making this whole label, which looks like this, same thing. I'm just going to, I don't know if yeah, so in this case, it's probably just the right size. So I'm just going to center it because I'm not even using the whole side. But see how I've got this centered, like between the top and the bottom, between the spaces? And I can punch this out. And now I just get rounded edges. Right? So lots of different ways to use just the parts of the punch that you want. What do I do with the other labels? I don't know what I did with them. Okay, move all those things out of the way. I have so many pieces on my desk right now. So many things everywhere to show you. Okay. So I'm going to show you the pick-a-punch. And I'm going to show you that don't make the same mistake I make. And I will show you that I made the mistake as I was prepping to do this class. So I got all my pieces here. Got to get to the actual, there we go. I have all the props that go with it. So this is the card I made. And it was just it was a fun stamped background. I'm going to show you another way to do a background. But I knew that I wanted, and at first, I changed my mind afterwards. But at first, I was going to stamp the background. And that's the thing. We're making cards. We can change our mind all we want. If you decide something doesn't look the way you want it to, you just change your mind. Do it a different way. So, and I love how this card turned out. Oh, goodness. Love it. So originally, I was going to, I have a dimensional there now. I was going to put a couple of these punched out leaves like this. But I found that it was just too busy. Right? Because, and they were just, this background turned out so well that this would just got in my way. But anyways, I wanted roses for something else. And I wanted to punch out a few of these leaves. I will tell you that this is the bow punch, or bow punch, whichever I call it, a bow, bow, is retiring. This is one of the best punches ever. I will never get rid of this punch. But this is another one of those punches where it's a builder punch. And I've used this for so many things. So it's another one of those ones where if I just want to punch out a leaf, well, I don't want to do it on a huge piece of paper, right? Because I'm getting both. So I'm gonna cut strips so I can put my leaves through like this to get strips. And I'll show you that in a second here. So I know that, right? I've done this, I've used this punch so many times. And yet, I went and stamped, I was like, doo, 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 and I stamped a bunch of things so that I could punch them out and use them on cards. One was on one card, one was on a different card. So you'll notice my mistake, though, is in order to punch this set of leaves out, I'm killing my flowers. Well, I don't want to do that. Well, maybe I could do my flowers first. Nope, can't even reach my flowers. So in order to do that, because I can salvage it, I'm going to have to do this now. I'm going to have to trim it off. So I can cut my first set of flowers out. It's upside down though, and it's a whole lot easier doing it the other way for me. There we go. So now I can cut my little bundle of roses out. And I can, but see, when I go to do the other one, I'm always paranoid I'm gonna wreck something when I'm doing it. I could get in there and do it and get my roses. Now my punch is this much over here. Now it shouldn't make a mark, but at the same time I'm like, So I would be more prone if it's a piece of paper that I have I've already stamped and has a specific purpose. I would rather not take a chance that I'm going to hit this or I'm going to bend it just by the action of the punch. So instead, I'm going to use this one. Right? Now, sometimes it works. I guess it wouldn't have mattered if I cleared that out or not. Now, in this case, my little piece of paper that I want to go is upside down. Right? I have a little handle on here, but my roses are opposite to this. I need to be able to put this in this way. Okay? Well, I don't need 8,000 little pieces, so I'm going to trim this off because this piece is just going to go where the leaves are, and it's just going to make a million little pieces. So now I need to punch this way. But you see the problem is once I put this in, I hit that a little too hard. Trying to line this up, and I have done it. I have been determined before, and I've see, can I, you know that game where you try to get the little ball in the thing? I've done that with the punch. Can I shake this enough that I can get it in? No. So again, good old sticky note to the rescue. You can just put your sticky note on the bottom. And now I have a handle on my too small piece of paper. Now sometimes this is just being frugal. Sometimes this is I screwed up and punched on the wrong side. But sticky notes are genius. So now I have my little handle. I've maneuvered it around. I punch it out. And then all you have to do, and it's not the end of the world because chances are this is stuck down, is just make sure there's a little bit of sticky note on the back of that. And just take it off. More flowers. The other thing that you can do, and I only just saw this recently. So this one's the same. This one's going to go in here. And it's like the paper is just about, like I can move the paper in and out this way, but I can't shift the paper up and down because there's not enough of it left. And as soon as I push, I kind of lose control of it. But I don't think my sticky note is long enough. Now, Lord knows I got sticky notes. I have much bigger ones. But one of the things I saw just recently is somebody, we have strips of paper, right? I've said it numerous times. Strips and strips. They take their strips of paper and they stick a little glue dot on the end. And they put the glue dot on. And now you can make your handle, get that in there, as long as you need it to be. I'm just trying to line. I'm particular. I'll take my time because I'm particular. There we go. Now, yep, I cut off a little notch of this, so this, don't use your last remaining piece that you needed or something because it will do it. And then it's just got the little glue dot. You just pull it off and away you go. I would make sure maybe not to put the glue dot right behind the piece I want, because in this case this is a fairly thin piece, and if I didn't actually want the glue dot there, I don't want to wreck it taking it off. But handles, there you go. Okay. So now I have this idea for a card, and what I want is I want to punch, or I want to make the background. I'm gonna use these same pieces. I'm gonna show you how the pick-a-punch works in a minute. I just have so many pieces on my desk. I want this background to be this. I want it embossed with these leaves. Now, unfortunately, we don't have an embossing folder that has these leaves on it. So I'm gonna make my own embossed look. I'm not making my own embossing folder. So what I've done is I took a piece of the cardstock and I want it I want tone on tone for my embossing. I added a piece of adhesive sheet to the back, and I want to go punch a whole bunch of these leaves out. And I'm going to punch as many as I can, and I'm going to lay them on here. The reason I put the adhesive sheet on is because some of the pieces are narrow and I want it to stick down. But as I said earlier, the problem is I just want the leaf. I don't want all of this. So one of the handiest tools you can have in your craft room is a ruler. So I'm looking at this and I'm measuring from the widest point to the widest point And I see that this is just over 1.25 inches. From the widest point on this leaf to the widest point on this leaf. Just over 1.25 inches. So I'm going to go 1.5 inches, just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to take my little trimmer out. And I'm going to go 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to do, if I do another 1.5 inches, I'm going to see what I have here. So this is 3/4. This will give me like 1.25 inches, which is pretty exact. But I'm going to live on the edge and I'm going to try it. So part of the challenge, and the more you use it, the better you get at it, I think, is if you can put your paper in and you can get it at just the right angle. I almost got it. Go this way. Okay, so if my paper is angled like this, right, in the punch, and I'm trying to line it up, and I'm just missing a little bit of the leaf, like just on the two edges. But if I turn my paper this way, I gotta go do it. Figure out where the edge of the paper is. Now when I do it, I got complete coverage, right? So I can punch this out. And you're gonna use 2 hands on this one because remember I put the adhesive sheet on the back. It's gonna be a little more torque required to punch through it. But here's the thing: this other piece that's left over, and I'm gonna save this till the end now. Some of these pieces are gonna be partial, that are gonna go on here, and some of the pieces are gonna be just edge pieces. So I don't necessarily need every one of them to be full. But I'm doing the same thing. I put in my piece. I made sure it was big enough. We're not getting too close to the edge. And now I'm angling it enough that I can, because if I go just like this, I'm going to get less, right? But if I angle it a bit, I'm going to be able to punch more out. But I also got to watch because this other little guy is still making marks where I don't want it to. Now if I do this, maybe it works. I found with things like this that have like the long stems and that, I will get more out of it if I flip my paper. You can't flip it over this way because of the adhesive on it, but I can flip it like one end and then the next end, because I can get farther down, and you'll be able to see this when I punch it out. I can get farther down because now I'm nestling my 2 skinny parts together, right? So then when I go to make my next one, I'm going to get 3 out of this one for sure, but yeah, it cuts off a little bit. Then I'm not going to get 4. So in this case, I'm just doing it so I get the third one that I want. I have little bits and pieces everywhere now. Okay, I should have pre-done some of these, but I was trying to show you the process. So I'm going to punch this one. And this is the card, right? I don't have the, but this is such a cool technique, and you can do it with just about any shape. The more variable the shape, unless it's a small, sometimes the harder it is to match them up. You'll see in a minute here, but oops. But it's such a cool look. Okay, so I have all those little pieces. I'm not totally throwing these out yet, because if I need to, I might just punch little chunks out to get the corners, right? So I'm going to do this upside down. I'm going to have to do it twice, but I'm going to do it upside down at first just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking these pieces, and in the end they are going to be green on green, so it looks embossed. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out. I just got to figure out how they're going to go. I don't even know. Until you do it the first time, you don't actually know how it's going to work. But I'm just going to take these, and I'm going to do this, right? And I'm going to stick them to the piece of cardstock, and I'm going to get the embossed look just by sticking punched out pieces. I'm going to need way more punched out pieces than this. But you know what? It kind of looks cool at an angle. Like without the whole thing even being done, just sort of this sort of cascade of them. The problem is I'm putting something across. Okay, I'm going to come back to this one in a second because I kind of like how this looks without it being the whole thing. Now, knowing that it's going to be this way, right? That it's going to be green on green. But just 1 minute, because I'm going to do this first just because I need my labels so I can see what I'm doing. So this is the Pick-a-Punch. And I've got a few pieces. So the way these work, there's a 3/4 inch, no, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch groove. So this is a 3/4 inch groove. So your paper, this is like I have one of each. Your paper slides into the groove and goes. And again, I told you at the beginning, nobody ever uses a punch like this. I'm gonna use it just to get my paper started, but then I'm gonna flip it over. Oops, that's the wrong side. Because I want to be able to see what I'm doing here with my punch, right? So because this punch, there's a little bit of give when it comes out the other end. I like to make sure that my thing is as even as I can get it. Okay. Now you're also going to notice it's going to take just over 1/8 of an inch off if you push it all the way to the edge. You don't want to cut it too short from the edge, because if you do, then you risk it being just kind of ratty. So remember that when you're making your piece of paper. So this slides in. This is the 1-inch piece. It's going to slide in the grooves so you get it straight, so it's like square to the world. And it's going to go all the way in. And then, like I said, there's just a little bit of give. And I just try to make it so that if like this is a scallop, that the scallop kind of matches. So I've got my big one, my little one, or my medium one, I mean, and then this one. So the reason I showed you that to begin with, this is my 1/2-inch one. So you see how I have the word happy birthday right on the end? And I did that on purpose. So when I punch this in, again, I put it in the wrong side. Each one of them has two slightly different. This is kind of like tickety and this is like scallop. So I'm going to punch this in the end. So if I'm not watching, like I'm going to watch, but if I do this, I can just see that I'm about, well, here, I'll just do it. That's what you have to remember when you're using the pick a punch. You got to give yourself some room to play, because I couldn't see the ink unless I looked at it from an angle, but I cut off my word. We don't want that. So I will always do this. I love this stamp, this happy birthday stamp. It's from the one with the shopping cart. I don't remember the name of it. Market, Summer Market, something. But lots of times I'll take it out, and if I make it a bunch of things, I'll just stamp a strip a bunch of times. But you notice how much space I put in between them? And that is because I don't always know if I'm going to flag the end, angle the end, punch the end. I like to leave lots of room. So in this case, I left too much room. I know that I'm going to lose about 1/8 of it, so I'm going to leave this 1/8 longer than what I want my final product to be. And I'm going to run this one in as well. So now I have the right size, right? So I want this other one to end about here. Oh, wait, I'm doing something different. End about here. So if I was going to cut this off, I'd cut it off back here, like where I want it to end, plus 1/8. In this case, I'm doing something different though, so I don't have to cut the other end. I'm looking at this like 85,000 things on here. Before I forget, this hexagon punch, so I said you can do anything, right? When this hexagon punch first came out, I saw so many people, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll try it anyways, who punched out designer series paper. I don't punch out just enough pieces. Let you know what Lord knows I have no shortage of designer series paper. But it was one of the most popular things I saw was people, this is just a piece of scrap paper, but you get the idea, using this to make backgrounds because it fits together. Like some shapes just naturally go together. I shouldn't have used white, but you can still see the idea, right? So you can punch this out and just stick these ones down. This one you don't, these pieces are big enough, you don't even have to put an adhesive sheet on them. But, and then you have like a half piece here and a half, right? This became one of the most popular background punches, like to make this background effect, was the hexagon punch. Okay, I need that for something else. So in this case, I'm going to put the card, like I said, I like that, the angled look of it. But I was going to do the same thing with this, where I just sort of have these layered. They were going to come in from the side. That's not actually going to work as well because of that. It's going to blend right in. Maybe I'm just going to layer it like this. Like I said, I don't always have a plan. Sometimes I just wing it as I go. So I was going to do this on the side. I think it works. I think the other option, though, would be to take a layer. Nope, I'm just going to go like this. I need a few more, but I'll just do it the other way. So this is, I'll finish this one afterwards, so you don't have to watch for the whole thing. You'll see the final product when you see the pictures, but you get just to get the idea. So I'm going to take And because these are as fine as they are, if you're a fan of white glue and you want to just punch them out of paper and use white glue, that is totally your choice. I myself love sticky strip. There we go. Or not sticky strip, adhesive sheets. So the other thing that I have to keep in mind too as I'm doing this, I just want variability, right? But I can also fill in some of the little edge pieces with little chunks off the corner. So I don't have to, and I made the critical error. I know better, but because I was laying it out. The one thing I found through trial and error, and then I actually saw somebody afterwards who said it, and I was like, oh, why didn't I see this before? I tried 15 times. If you're going to do kind of the random effect and you're going to fill something up like this, start in the center and work your way out. Don't start on an edge like I did. Because right off the bat, I'm like, ooh, that's not what I wanted. You start in the middle and you work your way out and you fill in the edge pieces afterwards. But anyways, so I've punched out the background. And I'm trying to do it like, I mean, I guess it's your decision. It's artistic, however you want to do it. Do you want all the stems facing the same way? Do you want them rotated? Do you want them bits and pieces? Do you want to angle this? Like, it's whatever way you want to do it. But the idea is, I don't know that I wanted those two pieces like that together, but I did it already, so that's okay. The idea is when you look at it, and because these are glued down, and I have seen ones before, especially like with that hexagon, if you had the whole background, you could pop up one of them that has the sentiment on it. But you're starting to get the idea. It looks embossed, right? It's a very cool effect. Very cool. Got that one going. So as it turns out, because I realize now I have that other piece of paper, like I said, I'm still going to finish the card afterwards. I just want to make sure I don't throw away the good pieces I already got going. Yeah. I will finish the other ones with that piece and the little side pieces. But isn't that a cool look? Oh, I just adore it. Adore it as I do that color. So I'll put that one on afterwards. We'll finish that afterwards so you don't have to sit there and watch me. Because I think I just have one more thing to show you. And quite honestly, I forgot what time it was when I started. So I could be going for 2 hours or 20 minutes. And at this point, I have the foggiest idea. Okay, so here's my last card. Now here's the problem. My last card is missing a piece. So I did show you. Like I said, I had this list and then everything was just in whatever random order I had. So these are the reason I kept this out though. I was so excited and I'm like, I have to keep a second set of these so I remember. We currently have, I think it's, no, 3 circle punches. We have the 1 3/4, the 2-inch, and the 2 3/8. Now the difference between 2 3/8 gives you a very wide border. The difference between these two, the 2 and the 1 3/4, is this one. And it gives you a 1/8 inch relief all the way around it. Now I tend to like a 1/16. I like a thinner border. Well, the good news for me, and anybody like me, is that in the new annual catalog, there is a 1 7/8 inch punch coming out, which is the size between these two, which means it will be the size that goes right in between here and gives me a thin border. So then you have the option of this one backed with that one or that one backed with that one, right? And they don't always have to be, you don't always have to punch like white for the sentiment and then put a color behind it. These can be color on color. And I could have punched something here. I could have punched the sentiment. Like you have lots of options with layering. It's lots of fun. And I said earlier, the question always comes up, do you punch first and then stamp or stamp and then punch? Well, I could take this piece and I could punch on it, or sorry, stamp on it. It's already punched out. I know exactly where my flowers go. Or I could stamp them first and then go to punch it. And the funny part is, I was doing 2 of them in case I screwed one of them up. And I kept getting interruptions and I was watching something. So I did this one and this one at the exact same time, and I stamped them both before I punched them. This one I did right, and this one for some reason I lined them up kind of sideways. And so when I go to punch, it's not the end of the world, but if I do it this way, I'm actually going to now cut off parts of my flowers, and I have a little bit more just empty space than I wanted. Like this one, the leaves filled it up a bit better. So it's doable. You can stamp and then punch, or punch and then stamp. Either way works. You get variable results using the exact same technique. So there you go. This one, my thought was I'll just punch it something longer so that I don't have to cut my flowers off. I'll use that for something else. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you, I think, pretty sure, is one of the tricks with the builder punch. And this is, I've used this with the cow. Cutest cow. Do I have it? There we go. Cutest cows. Same idea. Builder punch. Template. So I practice what I preach. Where'd my bee set go? There it is. So here's my bee Valentine set. And I have to open this one carefully because it has been very well used. And some of the stamps aren't as sticky as they need to be. And so every time I open the case, they go flying. But you notice I've got one in there as well. So this is what we're going to do. When I go to punch this out, if I want to stamp this whole thing for the bee and I want to punch it out, and then I go to punch them, if I stamp them just all separately on a sheet, and then I go to punch, I may or may not line them up. So then in this case, I might have to go, okay, here I'm going to punch this one out, and then I'm going to turn it, I'm going to punch this one out, and then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to punch this one out. What you want to do is make yourself a template. Now, if you're punching, if it's solid colors, and you're punching 3 different colors, it's not going to work as easily. But generally, when you're doing something like this with the builder punch, you're punching them in the same color and coloring, like with the cow especially. But this is how I'm going to make this so that I can make my bees the same way. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to punch out this. Now, this also tells me that this is the way the punch goes in, right? So when I make my template, my pen, that's my pencil. I'm going to write, and I've done this so I don't accidentally use it or do something else with it. But I'm doing it this way so I can write the word template on the top. So I know as I'm stamping, this is how the punch is going to go in. This is the top because the letter is right side up. And this is the way it's going to go in. Because I don't want to punch on a piece of paper where I punch my stuff or put it like this and stamp it. And then when I go to try to punch it, I can't reach it because I punched it upside down. This is how the piece of paper I'm using is going into the punch. And I also have put it in as deep as it can go. It can't go any farther in than this, right? If I'm any higher up on this bottom stamp, if I'm any higher up than this, I'm not going to be able to reach it. Okay, so this is my template. Again, I didn't use a super small piece of paper. This one's bigger, and this was a mistake, or well, it wasn't even a mistake. I was trying something, it didn't work out. So I had this piece of paper. So what I'm going to do is this, and I'm going to put my thing down again because it'll help. So I want to stamp a whole bunch of bees, and then I'm going to color them. Or I'm going to do whatever with them, but... So this is what I know. Ooh, this is not very sticky. Just gonna, I have my little rag here. My little cloth for my glass mat is nice and wet still. So I'm gonna put this one in. I'm gonna line it up. And I'm gonna take the wings. And that's what goes in this one. And I'm gonna line it up. And I'm gonna take his little antennae. And that's what goes in this one. And line it up. I got them all lined up. Now I'm going to use my block, same as I did with, when I had the flimsy piece. Well, in this case, though, I've lined them all up so that... Where'd my white piece of paper go? I set that thing on my leg, and it's wet and cold and distracting. There we go. So I've made my template. Now I can stamp. We'll do 2 of them, I guess. Like this. We'll do it. And if I was doing this once, I would really want to be right the first time. But generally, when I make something like this, I'm making 10 of them. I've used this bee so many times, and I rarely just if I'm going to the trouble to set something up, I'll punch a bunch of extras at the same time. I have like an entire table full of extras here. Okay, so I did it with the stamp. So now when I go to punch this out, you'll notice how everything lines up where it's supposed to. Just let me flip so I can actually see what I'm doing. The dog is sleeping just outside my door, and apparently is all of a sudden having a nightmare because he's like freaking out in the corner. Okay, so as you can see, I got 2 out of 3. The body's good, the wings are good. The antenna, I think, probably just moved a little bit at the end. So I'm going to end up cutting that off. But what I'm going to do, because those pieces still work, I want to keep those pieces. And the antenna just was off by just a little. Now, I can, and the one time I was doing a project, and I left everything mounted on the block, and I just left the block sitting next to the stamp case. And then I had a class coming up, so I just left everything the way it was, because once I got it perfect, whew, I just left it. But I can still use this piece. I flipped it over, I stamped, and there we go. I have antennae. But I know that I was just a little bit off. So just even using this same piece of paper that I just punched, I just need to move this slightly over. I'm going to take it off. I'm going to move it over slightly in there. I'm going to line these guys up again. Oops. Forgot to put the paper down. Now the other way I can test it, if I don't want to ruin my cardstock by being wrong, is I can do it like this. I find it not always easy to see this way, but I kind of got the idea. Yes. So I got this twisted a little bit. So this one was a little close to the edge, this was a little down, but I know that that's because I couldn't exactly see what I was doing. White on white and all. So now I'm going to do this next time. I'll go over a little bit here. So I've got my trial and error done, but this template is just so much easier because you can pop the stamps in, and especially if you're doing multiples, but even just for the next time you're doing it, to have it ready. So now I've got it. They all line up like they're supposed to. I realized at the last second my black ink pad was open. I didn't want to pop anything right into the ink pad. So now I have my bees. Oh, you know what I forgot? He needs a face. I need the cute little face that goes on here. I like the little winky one. Where's the winky one? There's the winky one. Give him a face. Now, normally I would let this dry a little bit more, but let's just see how this works. There we go. With the little winky face. Yeah, I don't know what's got the dog worked up, but something. So then my little pieces go underneath like this and make my bee. So the whole point was going to be to put the bee. I have so many things going on here on my table. To put the little bee up here. Oops, there's my other piece. So that I could use my flower. But I need to make my bee yellow. I'm going to leave that plain white. I want to make my bee yellow. So I'm going to very carefully try not to draw the black ink because I haven't really given it enough time. So you can do these many different ways. I could have stamped black onto yellow cardstock, and then I would have had black stripes on yellow. But then I'd have had yellow wings. I don't want that. So if like I said, this is particularly helpful. I love to color. I'll color anything. But if you want to do them all the different colors, this works to just color it in afterwards. Just stamp it in Memento. You get the stuff you want. I like to live on the edge and color over top. So there's my yellow bee. You also get, I'll show it to you on the cow, but you also get a different look when you when it's stamped and colored versus stamped on colored paper. You get like a softer look. But because I'm trying to match everything up, and some people mix and match. Some people will like put a solid punch next to a stamped image. I kind of like to sort of keep them in the same family, so this is just one way I like to do it. But I need a couple little glue dots to attach him. And then I'm going to use a rolled up glue dot to attach the antenna. Partially because the glue dot is too big, but also because then it gives me a different depth than just a single glue dot if I roll it up. And I'm just going to stick it right on the edge there. Okay, so this one is on kind of where his head is. I just stuck my finger in the glue dot instead of just putting it where I was supposed to. That's okay. We're just going to stretch those out and reuse them. And some of the, when this stamp first came out, some people were putting 2 sets of wings to get like the depth. But I don't know if this is intended to be one, but just whichever way you want to do it. But is that not the cutest little bee? He's adorable. And then, because you know me, I love me my dimensionals. I'm going to put this down. The other thing I could have done is I could have stamped the yellow circle and then stamped black over top of it, and then I would have got like the yellow background with the black over top of it, and then it would have already been colored. I can do that too. And then I'm going to put my bee here so that my bee is checking out my flowers. And this was meant, I kind of had it, the idea was that the antenna were going to be over the white spot, so I didn't need the white behind it, because then I can see the heart if I'm looking close enough, but mostly I just wanted to be able to see the antenna. So white on white, you don't see it. So there's my little bee going in for my flowers, and I realize now I have no sentiment or any plan for sentiments. But hey, there's always something on my table. Look at that. That actually works perfectly. So this is from the One More Year, and I keep meaning to check and see if it carried over, because I absolutely love this. Oops, I realize I'm off screen. I absolutely love this stamp set. So because I'm going to put this is again nothing to do with punches, just sort of something in case you didn't know. This I punched up on dimensionals. And so I have a dimensional on one end of this, and I just have a bit of adhesive on this one so that it's level, because if not, it would be kittywampus. Ta-da! B card. So that was the idea with that one, with the template. It will save you a world of time. And I realize now that because I said that, now I feel like I should show you, because I say things and I wonder, did that make any sense to anybody? I don't think this piece is big enough, though. But lucky for me, I have a gajillion of these. And this. And I had yellow at some point, but I put it away. So even if you're doing the two-part stamping, I guess is what I was getting at. I think my ink pad needs ink. My Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to put this down. Oh, that wasn't particularly clean, but you'll get the idea. So even if I'm doing this first, where did I put my black ink? You should see my desk. You should see the disaster that is my desk. So even doing it this way, I can still, because I'm lining this up on here, I can still do this. I can still stamp over top of the other piece and then punch it out. Only in this case, because I wasn't paying attention, I just stamped wherever I wanted to, and it's too far up from the edge of the paper, so I have to, again, I always have my scissors handy. I just need to trim a little bit. So there we go. And I still get all the same pieces. It doesn't have to be just the single stamping. There's my little bee body, which again, I forgot his face. Bee body, bee wings, bee antlers. And this guy has is a mother bee and had a C-section and has just a little scar on her belly. There you go. So that was my bee card. Now, the last thing I'm going to tell you, and then I promise I'm going to let you go, because like I said, I have a feeling I've been doing this for a while. I seriously could talk all day about stamping and just share things with you. But the last thing I'm going to tell you is one of the things I would suggest when you get a new punch, especially if it's a punch that's got a lot of bits and pieces on it. Where'd my bee punch go? Oh, I have it turned it sideways. Is don't just look at your punch and go, okay, that's the body, that's the wings, that's this. Because obviously this is hearts. But one of the most popular things that this bee punch got used for is a talk bubble. That was very popular, right? So yes, it's a bee, but it could also be the bee talking. These ones are obviously hearts, right? But they could be used for something else. And it doesn't have to necessarily be the same purpose. I was making a card, a custom card this weekend, and it's from the pop can dies, which is what I call them, but sweet fizz, I don't know what they're called. But there's a little strawberry die in it, and it cuts the die out with holes in it. So you need something for the black seeds on the back. Well, I just happen to have a retired heart punch. And doesn't it just perfectly fit the back of this strawberry? Because when you think about it, a strawberry is kind of heart-shaped. So I'm like, I need to cut a little piece of black paper to stick on the back. And then I thought, no, let me check. And sure enough, my little retired heart mini punch is the exact size of a strawberry. And it turns out to be exactly what I need to cover so you can see strawberry seeds. Right? So not its intended purpose, but yes, it's a strawberry. This is the cow builder punch. And it's the same thing. I had that little template I make. It cuts out the body of the cow, the head of the cow, the nose, like the little popped up nose, and a little piece for the tail. I never used the tail piece. I just colored it in. But these other pieces, I stamped it all in gray because I wanted it to be pale. And then I just colored in the pieces that I wanted. Use the same template. This needed to be a Highland coo, or a Highland cow, as a normal person would say. But so I needed some hair on the top. This little Highland cow hair is 2 of the flowers from the cactus punch, upside down. And it was perfect to make this little hair. So when you look at your punches, even if you just take them, I'm trying to find one that I have that's, oh, I know which one I want. I just can't see it at the moment, but I know I want it. I want the whale punch. There it is. So this is the whale punch. I'm going to punch it out of gray because that makes the most sense. So sometimes what you should do when you get a new punch is punch all the pieces. So gray on gray is not going to work. Sorry, I said I didn't have any more cards, but I did have one more suggestion. And then see what it looks like. I mean, this is obviously a whale, but you could also just do, you know those necklaces, right, where it's just the tail end of the necklace? I used this little raindrop that came in the whale. I used it many, many times as a candle flame. Because if you punch it out of yellow, which one is that? That was this one. If you punch this out of yellow, it looks just like a flame. That on a little strip of paper, and you have yourself a candle. Right? This is, you're making a turkey. I don't know what the right name for it is, but that little thing that hangs down on the bottom of a turkey's chin, doesn't it look like that? Right? So when you're looking at your punches, that's my parting word for you is, when you get a new punch things out and just see what they look like, because you never know what they might look like. You can do it with dies as well. And the easiest way to do it is to flip them over, flip them up and down. What does this do? I have no idea what this is the white on the, it's also sometimes when you get a new punch and you're like, what is that? I think I figured this out in the end. This is the white, yeah. This is the white that makes the belly, or that makes the white strip on the belly. This looks kind of like a worm. Some of these are just cool little shapes though, right? So it's just kind of fun to play. So always, always be curious and play. So there you go. There's my punch thing. Use it for other uses. Use it for layering. Make a template. Use it for a background. Cool little flag ends that you get from the Pick-a-Punch. They got stencils. You got shaker bits. You've got just pretty sentiments and 3-dimensional flowers. You got some flag ends. What else do we have? You've got some stenciling for blending brush, whether you're using the negative space or whether you're using the positive space. So many things you can do with a punch. I would love it if you can think of something I missed, or you have ideas, or you have little tips and tricks and things that you use to make your punches go farther, or easier ways to use them. Please comment on the video. The more we know, the more we help each other, the more fun we're going to have playing. And I can tell you, I had a lot of fun playing with all these cards. So I'm going to stop the video now, and I'm going to see how long it is, and I'm going to hope for the best. Thank you all very much. I think I just figured out on my camera where it tells me how long it is. And if it is, I apologize for the length of this video. Have some fun and play. And if you have some ideas, please share them. Thanks for joining us. Stampin' 101. Bunches.